The morning sun was barely creeping over the horizon in Willow Creek, a quiet suburb outside Portland, Oregon, when I stood in my backyard, coffee mug in hand, staring at the gaping void where my 8-foot cedar fence once stood. It hadn't collapsed in a storm or rotted away. No, it had been dismantled overnight, each panel and post removed with surgical precision, now stacked like firewood at the curb. The absurdity of it hit me like a punch, and I almost laughed. Instead, my grip tightened on the mug, the ceramic creaking under my fingers. Across the street, Evelyn Harper, though her legal documents would insist on Margaret Evelyn Harper, stood in her silk robe, clutching a leash tethered to a shivering Yorkie. Her smile was sharp, predatory, like a fox eyeing a trapped rabbit. "Good morning," she called, her voice dripping with syrupy triumph. "Doesn't it feel so much freer now?" I didn't respond. My mind was a whirlwind of disbelief and half-formed retorts I knew would only cheapen the moment. Setting my mug on the hood of my pickup, I pulled out my phone and started snapping photos of the wreckage. Evelyn's smile twitched as the shutter clicked. She wasn't just my neighbor. She was the iron-fisted president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. While most residents treated HOA rules as gentle nudges, keep your lawn tidy, don't leave trash cans out, Evelyn wielded them like a sledgehammer. To her, the bylaws were gospel, and if they didn't suit her vision, she'd rewrite them herself. My fence had been my quiet defiance. I craved solitude, the kind where I could grill a steak without waving at every passerby. At the last HOA meeting, Evelyn had preached about community harmony and how fences fractured the aesthetic. She'd said harmony, like we were forming a militia, not living in a sleepy cul-de-sac. I'd nodded politely then, went home, and added another foot to my fence. Now it was gone, and she stood there gloating. I approached her slowly, phone still in hand. "Did you hire a crew for this, Evelyn?" I asked, my voice low and steady. "Or did you sneak over at midnight with a crowbar?" Her chin lifted. "The HOA voted. Your fence violated regulations. We took corrective action." She gestured vaguely down the street, as if her 3 loyal board members, who nodded along to her every whim, were a shadowy council of enforcers. Her smugness churned my stomach. She thought she'd won, that she'd crushed my rebellion. Leaning closer, I kept my tone calm but cutting. "Evelyn, do you know what trespassing is? Or destruction of property? Because the police are about to give you a crash course." Her smile faltered, just for a second. "You wouldn't dare," she snapped. I snapped another photo, her face clear in the frame. "Oh, I would." By noon, 2 county deputies were pacing my property line, scribbling notes. One muttered, "Never seen an HOA pull something this bold." Evelyn fluttered about, insisting the bylaws justified her actions. The deputies weren't convinced. They handed me a case number and suggested civil court. That night, I sat on my porch, staring at the exposed yard now bleeding into Evelyn's manicured lawn. Her blinds stayed open, maybe hoping I'd crack. Instead, I smiled back. She'd thrown the first punch, but I play the long game. I dove into research HOA bylaws, meeting minutes, public records. Evelyn's harmony was a facade for control. The bylaws never banned fences. She'd just declared it so, and everyone was too exhausted to fight her. Worse, she'd been funneling HOA funds into her own yard $10,000 for community landscaping that somehow only spruced up her rose garden. Then I found the jackpot, a settled lawsuit from her old neighborhood in Seattle, where she'd trespassed to fix a neighbor's hedge. I could have taken this to the HOA board, but that was too soft. Evelyn fed on drama. I needed something surgical. So, I filed a civil suit for property damage and trespassing, quietly slipping evidence to the county auditor. Weeks later, at an HOA meeting, Evelyn branded me a disruptor of our community's fabric. I leaned back, letting her rant, knowing the investigators were already circling. Soon, subpoenas for HOA financials hit her mailbox, and whispers spread. Her empire was fraying. Evelyn didn't go quietly. She banged on my door one night, her Yorkie yapping, her face flushed. "You think this is a game?" she hissed, waving a finger. "You're tearing this community apart." I sipped my bourbon, unfazed. "You tore down my fence, Evelyn." "I'm just playing by your rules." She scoffed, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of fear. "You're bluffing. Nobody sues over a fence." I didn't correct her. She'd learn soon enough. The next week was quiet, too quiet. Evelyn, usually a gossip machine, seemed distracted. Men in suits visited her house at odd hours. My civil suit gained traction, but the auditor's probe was the real blow. I'd flagged her shady expenses. Overpriced mulch, a stone wall that mysteriously matched her backyard, an $8,500 community gate that was just her new wrought iron masterpiece. Neighbors got letters demanding cooperation with the investigation. Suddenly, Evelyn wasn't the untouchable queen. She was the neighborhood pariah. She tried damage control, handing out typed excuses about accounting errors. Most went straight to the recycling. One kid used her flyer as kindling for a bonfire. Then I caught her in my yard again, glaring like she could will me into submission. I flicked on the porch light. "Lost, Evelyn," she spat. "You think you're clever, but I don't lose." I laughed, genuinely amused. "You already have. You just don't see it yet." Her next moves were desperate. She tried forging HOA minutes to claim a fence ban, but the treasurer, Harold Weiss, a timid accountant, refused to sign off and brought me the fakes. She offered a zoning board member HOA funds for his pet project overheard by a neighbor at a coffee shop. In the neighborhood, they were done with her. Stories poured out, finding a single mom for chalk drawings, threatening to tow a veteran's truck, yelling at kids for late-night basketball. It wasn't just me anymore. It was everyone. The sheriff's office piled on charges: fraud, embezzlement, trespassing. My civil suit became a sideshow to her criminal case. Then, at 11 p.m. one night, I heard hammering. Evelyn was in my yard, staking an HOA no trespassing sign into my grass, her eyes wild. I recorded it, calm as ever. "Know what trespassing means, Evelyn." She dropped the sign and fled. That video went straight to my lawyer. Her arrest was cinematic. At 7 a.m. on a crisp October morning in 2024, deputies rolled up. Evelyn flung open her door, silk robe billowing, ranting about witch hunts. Handcuffed, she screamed I'd orchestrated it all. I raised my coffee mug in salute as the cruiser drove off. The neighborhood exhaled. But Evelyn wasn't done. Her lawyer filed a countersuit, claiming I'd led a conspiracy to ruin her. We buried it in evidence: videos, forged minutes, Harold's testimony. In court, she played the victim, sobbing theatrically. The judge wasn't buying it. Her criminal case moved faster past fraud from her old neighborhood surfaced, pushing prosecutors toward prison time. She lashed out, stuffing mailboxes with flyers accusing me of un-American plots. It backfired. Mailbox tampering's a federal crime. At her final hearing, she snapped, screaming at the judge about corruption. Bailiffs dragged her out. The jury's verdict: guilty on fraud, embezzlement, tampering, trespassing. For years, no parole before two. She staggered, shrieking I'd regret it forever. I met her gaze. "Enjoy your open yard, Evelyn." The courtroom laughed. Her appeal flopped. The evidence was ironclad. In prison, she clashed with inmates, earning the nickname Warden for her rule obsession. The HOA elected Harold president, and the neighborhood bloomed, playgrounds fixed, events planned. I rebuilt my fence, taller, stronger. Neighbors loved it. Months later, I glimpsed Evelyn in a prison van outside the courthouse, her face blank in an orange jumpsuit. She wanted openness, and now she had Ida prison yard, concrete walls closing in. My yard's mine again, my neighbor's free. And Evelyn, she's learning rules the hard way. What do you think? Did Evelyn deserve 4 years? Or was the neighborhood too harsh? Could I have stopped at the civil suit? Or was pushing for criminal charges fair game? Should HOAs have this much power? Or are they just breeding grounds for petty tyrants? Drop your thoughts below, hit like, and subscribe for more stories like this.